Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of MOJO Rising, How to Make Cancer Suck Less. This is your host, Julie Stevens, and I have a very special episode for us today. And this one is a survivor story. So I've invited someone who has such a similar energy and spark and spunk to her. So I can't wait for you to get to know Nicole Tanner. So Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks so much for having me. As we've been chatting, we're already kindred spirits. We literally fought cancer, and I think it's a club you never want to be a part of until you are, and then you are like soul sisters because you know the fight, and so we're here to help each other through the fight, and we want to help other people with that fight. So thank you for having me so much.
You know, I think that's such an interesting perspective because when I was diagnosed, I went a little bit to the research, but I went to my network because I wanted to hear from people who had been on the ground and fought this fight by themselves. I didn't want to hear someone who had studied this in a book. I wanted to hear someone who had walked the walk and lived the life. So I'm so glad that we can be here to really share our story so that people can have the benefit of what we've learned in our path.
Yes, I absolutely agree. As many times as I can tell my cancer journey, I will tell it because we have hard things that happen in our lives for a reason. And then it's our responsibility to share a story to help others, because when you're in that battle, when you're in that fight, you think you're the only one going through it, right? You just feel so isolated, so alone, you're fearful, all the things. And so, my job is to help them know they're not alone. You are not alone. And there's a lot of people actually in the same boat. And so let's help, get through the rough waters together. So
for sure. Well, Nicole, tell us a little bit about when were you diagnosed? Let's start with the beginning of your story.
Okay. So I was 37 years old. Yes. And it's happening younger and younger, by the way, Julie. So I can get into that later, but 37 years old, this was 15 years ago. And I was running with a friend, and she just got a mammogram. She had breast cancer history in her family, and she was doing her routine mammogram. I think she started at 35 because of the breast cancer history. She was a couple years older, but she just got one. So I said, when do you think I should get one? She was a nurse, so I trusted her opinion. And she said, I think all women should get a baseline, is what they called it, of your healthy breast tissue, hopefully at 35. So when you do get one at 40, then you'll know kind of how it's changed. But insurance doesn't pay for it at 35. So, but she's like, I really encourage women to go do that. And I said, well, that's great. I had no signs, no symptoms, no insurance, 5 kids in between jobs. So I had no reason to be getting a mammogram. So I said, okay, fine, put it off. She asked me 4 more times within a month's period. And I finally was like, okay, Natalie, like you would say to any friend, if you will stop asking me if I've got my mammogram, I will schedule my mammogram, just to mainly get her off my back or whatever. Love her. And you'll know the reason why here in a minute. So I called my OB and I said, okay, I'd like to schedule a mammogram. And they looked at my chart and they said, okay, well, you're 37. You have no history of breast cancer in your family. And are you noticing any signs or symptoms? And I said, no. And they said, okay, insurance isn't going to cover this. I said, yeah, I know. They're like, why are you getting this? I said, I just feel like I should. I just stayed the course. I was like, you're not going to persuade me, because again, I, for some reason, felt like I should. So, because my friend was so adamant too. So they said, okay, they sent a referral to the radiology department, called to schedule, same questions. Why? Same answer. I just feel like I should. 2 months later, I had my mammogram. It was scheduled. It was 2 months booked out. I live in southern Utah, which is about an hour and a half north of Las Vegas. We're in the desert. It snowed here in southern Utah that day. It was December, right before Christmas. Very, very rare. But of course, it snows on the day I have a mammogram, which whatever. I grew up in Idaho. Doesn't faze me. But the tech calls me and she says, I have to travel north 4 hours. I'm going to try to beat the storm. Can we reschedule your mammogram? And then before I could answer, she said, and can I ask you, why are you getting this mammogram? So I was questioned 3 times because it just wasn't the norm. And I was to say, you know what, let's just reschedule. This is so silly. I have no reason to be getting this. And she needs to get on the road. But something inside of me said, you go. So I said to her, I can be there in 20 minutes. If I can make that happen, will you wait for me? And again, she was kind enough to say, yes, I'll wait for you, because it slowed her down a good hour. So I got my car, drove there, did the mammogram. I was like, big check, done. I don't have to have Natalie will ask me and I can say, yes, I did it. I got a phone call an hour later, and they said, we see something suspicious. We need to see you tomorrow for a ultrasound. And then my heart sank. I was like, oh, what? Like, this is why I was prompted. So I was relieved and like, oh wow, like I listened, but then I was sick because I'm like, they found something, and I just knew something was wrong. I felt all around, still didn't feel anything. I was searching for it at that point. When they did the ultrasound, they went right to it. It was very deep. It was right next to my chest cavity. So they said, okay, we're going to send you to a surgeon, but it was Christmas time. So all the surgeon's office were closed, all the doctor's office, everything was shut down for 2 weeks. I waited knowing something was wrong, but I had to wait to go in. Went in, the surgeon did the biopsy, and the time that they did the ultrasound to the 2 weeks later of the biopsy, it had doubled in size, my cancer. Yes. So she did the biopsy, came back. I had a very rare, aggressive, as you can tell from the growth of it, form of breast cancer called cystophiloides sarcoma. Very rare. It's a killer and it loves to come back. But the reason why it's a killer is because you can't treat it with chemotherapy and radiation. So I didn't have any of that, luckily, because of all the side effects, but I didn't have to do any of that because my cancer won't respond to it. It's in the connective tissue. And so my treatment was simply go in, cut it out, get super wide margins, and then hope it doesn't come back. My cancer loves to come back. And so we did mammograms every 6 months, and then until about 3 years, and then every year past that. But my surgeon said to me, Nicole, I've been doing this for 30 years and removing breast cancer. I've only seen your type of cancer in 30 years 2 other times. And because it's so hard to treat and women don't catch it until they're past the point where the cancer is spread and they can't treat it, they both passed away. She's like, your friend saved your life because if you would have caught it, by the time you would have caught it, you would have felt it, you would have gone in, it would have already have spread. So my friend saved my life, and I'm here for a reason. I don't know why, but by the grace of God, I am here. And I'm so grateful that I listened and didn't go second guess myself when the health professionals were telling me there was no reason for this. And I really still had no reason. I didn't feel it, but I listened. So
Nicole, our stories are wildly similar yet again. Because I had low iron. That was the only indicator. And my primary care physician was like, you've been under so much stress that I thought I had an ulcer. And so when I called my gastro to say like, okay, let's do this and let's do an upper and a lower endoscopy, and she 3 times I was told, you're not under 45. You have no history of cancer. There's no reason for you to get a colonoscopy. And my response was, I'm a data gal, which is where we have a theory of being a data G, whether that's gal or guy or gatherer or gangster, whatever you want, get your data, because if you don't have that, when you have that data, you can find it early. And mine was at stage 4, so it wasn't exactly early, but it literally was the time. 2 months later, I don't know that we would have caught it. It would have been outside, like the spread, it was happening, and we caught it right in the nick of time. So your story and the need to advocate for yourself when you know what you need, I want just every listener to know you are worth the energy to push back.
Yes. And what's the worst thing that can happen? I realize that it's expensive to get testing or whatever, but that's peace of mind. And at least I would have been like, okay, but I listened and I followed through. Luckily, it was fine, even if there wasn't. But just listen, the worst thing that can happen is that there's nothing and you paid for it, right? But actually, the worst thing is that there is something, but that you caught it and now you're going to treat it. The story behind the reason why I talk now about my breast cancer is that I then had, and this is another topic that people don't talk about with cancer, is you're like, oh, you have cancer. What treatments are you doing? Whatever. The medical bills pile up like crazy. So insurance covers this much, but the treatments are so expensive that a lot of women don't even go get checked because they know they can't even treat it because they don't have, they just, it won't, it'll bankrupt them. So that's the part that is not talked about too, is the expense of it. And so I luckily had a very cheap route relatively, because it was surgery, it was hospital stay, it was the surgeon, so it was relatively cheap, but it was still over $12,000. Okay, so in between jobs, 5 kids, no health insurance. I don't know how we're going to pay for it. I hadn't started my business yet. And so I again swallowed my pride and applied for some financial assistance through the hospital, thinking I would just make payments. So I remember to this day sitting in the hospital room after I filled out my paperwork. My sister came with me, and that's humbling to fill out the paperwork on what you make, and all the things. And she looked up and she said, Nicole, we have generous donors at this hospital that pay for women in your situation and men. And can you pay $100? Is all she asked me to pay. So I wrote a check right there, 2009, for a check for $100, and I was medical debt free.
Wow.
So yeah, and that was the lift. I was like, I caught my cancer early, my life was spared, and then I wasn't bogged down for years and years and years paying on interest for a procedure to save my life. So like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Usually you save your life, you do all the treatments, but then you're in debt for years, if not your life, because you chose to save your life.
That is so true. And I was going to say, it doesn't even matter if everything you're doing is on insurance. That's the exact case of you're going to be hit with so many financial bills. I mean, I went through my savings so quickly with supplements and healers, and it is the financial impact of cancer is not discussed. And it truly is one of those things that weighs on your shoulders. And so many of us are fortunate and that we have an opportunity, we find a way. But I spoke with someone who's had stage 4, who had lost her house, and she was going to treatment and then living in her car.
That's so hard.
It broke my heart, because I'm like, we have to find you a place to sleep. You have to sleep at night if you're going to heal,
Yeah, no, it is something not talked about. Again, you're fighting for your life. You're sick from all the treatments. You're worried you're going to die. You're worried about being a burden to your family, your loved ones. But then you have these bills that keep going like this, and you almost can't even pay attention to them because you don't have the energy to do so. So, yeah, I had renewed life and started a company called Swig, and I was a Diet Coke, still am a Diet Coke lover. In fact, I have my drink right here. But I love Diet Coke with lime. And so I started this business, I think, because after you go through something so hard, you have a renewed perspective on what's important. And you just want to go out and live life a little bit more fuller. And so I would go to Sonic all the time and get my Diet Coke with lime, because they had the Pebble Ice and the foam cup. And I just sometimes felt like a number in the drive-through line, where I was coming on a regular basis to where I would hope that they would know me, know my drink. They didn't. And I thought, people want to be made to feel known. Again, maybe that was the cancer journey coming out, but people want to be made to feel special and known, and that they matter. And I just felt like my experience was lacking with my daily drink fix, where I would choose to go. And so I started this company called Swig in April of 2010. Everything in, again, my kids are between the ages of 5 and 15. So I'm a busy mom. And, but I'm like, I see a need out there of people needing to get a great drink, but also feel special in a drive-through line. And as busy women, we are just literally all over the place. So anytime I'm going to look for food or whatever, I look for a drive-through so I can multitask and get my food or my drink and come around. So I want it to be this amazing drive-through experience for customers. They can get their favorite drink, however they want it made. And we sell more than just soda. We sell sparkling water, water-based energy drinks, but it's all about how you feel when you come through the Swig line. Started in 2010, hoping please let one store work. And it took about 3 years, and then opened store number 2. And there's a long story behind that, but brought on a few partners throughout the years. But we are now at 65 locations in 6 different states. Yeah, like who would have thought? Who would have thought? But we, in 2020, when the pandemic hit, everybody was hit so hard by just everything. And we wanted to do a lift at Swig. At that point, we had 20 locations, and we wanted to give back because people needed some light and some goodness. And one of my business partners said, Nicole, and this is another thing that I don't think cancer patients or survivors talk about, is your story. I kind of kept it in. I had survivor's guilt of like, wait, I survived. I didn't have to do chemo, radiation. Did I really have cancer if I didn't do those things? Why do we think that cancer equates to chemo and radiation? It doesn't.
Why do we think it equates to suffering? It doesn't.
Right. It doesn't. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. So I didn't tell my story very often. I was building a business and super busy, but I didn't talk about my cancer story very often. But I told him a year prior, and I told him how my medical bills were paid. And he's like, that's what we need to do at Swig. Let's start a foundation, a fundraiser for women fighting breast cancer, and let's pay for their medical bills. So, and he said, let's call it Save the Cups. So we sell drinks in cups, and then we're trying to save women's cups is what we do. I was like, genius. So we started it really 4 years ago, and we just focus in October because that's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we raise funds. Our customers are the ones who show up. The first year we raised $132,000 in 1 month's time. Yes. And then the second year, and anyway, we're at $1 million now is what we've raised for women fighting the fight. And I show up at their front door. We surprise them all. I have to select them all. And that's a whole nother process and so hard. But I show up like Publishers Clearinghouse style with a big old check, $20,000 check or whatever they need. And I lift that medical debt weight, or not me. It's my customers. It's our team. And I can't even tell you, Julie, how full circle moment that is for me to give back in the same way I was given to, and to have a business that can give back in that way. God is good. He saved my life. He helped me with a business that grew to this point that then can help serve even a greater purpose.
Oh, there's so many things I love about that story. Your strong entrepreneurial spirit, how much you believed in yourself. But one of the things that I love the most about what you said is your priorities had changed. And that is so clear. The way I want to make decisions, what's important to me, how I invest my energy, where I invest my money, everything has changed. And it truly is, because what's important becomes very clear when you're fighting for your life. And what's not important, like I couldn't care about so many things I used to care about anymore, you know?
Puts everything into perspective. You don't sweat the small stuff. You stay the course. You don't quit. You know, there's so many things that cancer teaches you. And in business, and especially in the fast casual and the restaurant business, you have to be a little bit crazy to enter that world. So it's a tough world.
I can appreciate too the idea of making someone feel like one of a kind, special, welcome, wanted. Like that idea of, it doesn't matter if you just came from chemo. It doesn't matter if you just had a horrible day or you just got fired. We're here to support you and be a home front of sorts. So I love that as well.
Yes. We want to be the best part of people's day. And it sounds silly. People go, okay, you're a drink company. I'm like, we're way more than that. We are way more than that. I have helped people in the line that are going through hard things. Everyone is going through something hard in this life. We just don't see it as we look at them. And we always take your order at Swig person to person out there in the line. So you're right there close and personal with them. We want to know your name. We want to know your drink. We want to know your story. I have with Save the Cups now, people will recognize me out there taking orders, and they will say, grab my hand, and with tears running down their eyes, down their cheeks, they say, Nicole, I am fighting cancer as we speak. I'm just left radiation, and I just want to thank you for all that you're doing. I'm like, wow. I mean, how am I put in this amazing position to help lift a load? And again, when you're going through cancer, it's the little things that make you smile and make you just appreciate. And again, it can be just a drink, but it's how you feel when you are getting that drink. And you know that the team in there know and they want you to beat this and fight this fight courageously. And they're there with you.
You know, one of the things I hated the most when I was going deep in my battle was when people would look at you and go, Oh, hi, how are you? And the way you just
Mm.
described it, of like, we are there to make people feel like they're human, they're whole, they're
Yes.
welcome, they're wanted. Like, all those things are so important. And you forget about that when you're like, oh, are you a fragile like egg? No, I'm a human being and I
No,
want to be
no.
loved and be loved, you know?
Yeah, see me for who I am. I'm a warrior. I'm a cancer survivor. I'm fighting this fight. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Nicole, when you think about if you had tips or tricks to give to someone who is newly diagnosed, what are some of the things you've learned either through your journey or through those you've helped?
Yeah. I mean, gosh, there's so many things. You're newly diagnosed and your world and your head is spinning. It's your worst nightmare, right? Um, so it's prioritization. Again, I think that it prepared me for the business world. Starting a business, an entrepreneur world that I never thought I'd own a drink shop, you know? So, but I think it prepares you to prioritize and go, okay, what do I need to deal with today? What's important for me today? Is it just getting through the thought of going in for this biopsy? Is it getting through that I have to do this surgery and recovery? Literally one step at a time. If you try to consume it all and think about and worry about it all, you're not going to be doing yourself any favors. Your body's going to feel it, which means you're going to take slower to recover from whatever you're doing. So try to focus on one thing at a time. And I am always a glass half full gal. I have been since I was little. I look for the good. And cancer, of course, is never good. And you don't want to ever hear that word, but like look for the positive things around you because they're there. So is it the people that are showing up for you? Is it the comfort that you felt, afterwards and you have a warm blanket? Is it going through the swig line and you have your swig? Is it, whatever it is, find the good things because they're there. If you get bogged down with how heavy this is, it's going to take you longer to recover. It's going to take you, it actually can kill you if you stay stuck in those thoughts because your body is feeling it and then it can't recover and do what it needs to do. So positivity and then prioritization is what I learned will help you fight the fight better.
I love that. And I think so my philosophy in life, my mantra is to maximize joy. And so I went into this journey of thinking about that. But when you describe the line at Swig, it reminds me of a joy center. Like that's what
Mm,
you're delivering. It might be a drink, it might be nourishing, or it might be
yeah.
satisfying their liquid need. But really, what it is delivering a cup of joy to let them go on with their day and handle whatever problems they have. You know?
We call it happiness in a cup. I said it many times. It is we're spreading swig happiness in the cup, yeah, across the world. Yeah, it again, I'm so blessed with this amazing company. I don't know why it's done when it's done, other than that we're providing opportunities for women who have their first time job at Swig, a 16-year-old, and all of a sudden they work their way up and they are an area director. So like we're providing just people to have a place to be, but we're also helping women fighting the fight with cancer and just making the world a better place again with a drink shop. Who would have thought? It's simple, but actually I love simple things because I think that is where the joy is in the simplicity of life. And you don't have to do a lot to make people's day better. It can be super simple. And a smile, how are you? I see you. What's your name? Yeah, the simple things in life.
Nicole, when I would go to the hospital, when I went in for my surgery or anytime after that, I would make every month I'd make a sticker that said maximize joy and a different thing. And I would hand out stickers and I would walk in and people would be like, the sticker lady's here. It was a sticker. It took nothing to do that. And I saw those stickers on every cup, on every mirror. They were everywhere, littered throughout the hospital. And it was all of these people, I mean, that still send me pictures of their stickers on their book or on their, I love it so much that it's just a sticker. And yet that sticker brought so much happiness over and over.
Yep. Simple. I think a lot of people think they have to they're like, oh, well, I don't have a business like Nicole does or Julie does. I guess there's no way I can help lift or give back. I'm like, no, no, no. You can do it with the simplest of things, a sticker, take a drink to someone. People just, and I think people are afraid they don't know what to say. Don't worry about what you're going to say or do. You just show up. Just show up, for them. Just let them know that you see them, and whatever they're going through. Again, everyone is going through something. So just show up. You don't have to say the right words. Just show up. Tell them that you love them and that you're there for them. That is it.
That's exactly right. I think, as I said, that trepidation or that pause before they see me, where if someone just said like, "Hey, what's up?" I don't
Yeah.
always need to talk about my cancer either. I can have
In fact, you probably don't want to all the time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's truly just making someone feel like they're heard and understood. And if they go there, go there. And if they don't go there, it's okay. Sometimes we even want to just talk about you,
Yes, yes, yes. Just, yeah, I think 2020 COVID taught us that we need to be there for people. It was a very lonely, isolated year. And what's funny is that Swig, we've always had drive-through. That's how I built this, is that drive-through. So when 2020 hit, we actually were considered essential because we had a drive-through, so we could stay open. So we were like people's like outing for like, they hadn't been out of the house in like a day or two. These moms that were now like stay-at-home teachers, and these healthcare workers that were working day in, day out, trying to save lives. We were like their go-to place to get their humanality, or to see people in person. And so it just kind of changed the game for us, as far as like, we are here for the people. We always have been, but now you're really seeing like, oh, okay, like now we know what Swig really is. And then Save the Cup started, and we just turned on franchising, Julie. I've always known that Swig is more than a drink. I've always known we were happiness in a cup, the best part of their day. But like, to have franchisees buy into that, I knew that they would want to. I've been getting franchise requests since probably 10 years ago, but I knew we weren't ready. I knew we needed systems and training, because I wanted every Swig to feel like what I just described to you. And in the franchise world, if you don't have everything dialed in, that can change. So we just turned on franchising a year ago, and now we're ready. We're finally ready. We have the support. We have the team. We're still learning. Nothing's going to be perfect. So some piece of advice I'd say to people that are trying to start their businesses, it's not going to be perfect. Just start. And then you'll learn along the way what you need to do. But we turned it on a year ago, and we have sold almost 500 units already, meaning that we've got our work to do. But so there will be Swigs across the nation here in a couple of years. Yeah. So really cool, which means we can help more women fighting cancer. Breast cancer.
Amazing.
Isn't that incredible?
I love that you also, though, just like when you have a cancer battle, look at the data, look at what you have, take the risk when it's worth taking the risk, make calculated decisions, understand the network, understand what you're working with. These are the same principles that you use in having a really strategic cancer battle as what you just described in your business.
Yeah, people can use their business, their life skills, if you're a mom, you know how to prioritize as well. Like, use that in your cancer battle. There's going to be days where you want to just curl up in your bed and do it. Do what you need to do, the self-care that you need to do, but use your experience that you've gained in life to fight this fight like the warrior women and men that you are. You are not meant to suffer. Advocate for yourself. Do the things that you're doing, Julie. Like, look at the markers, look at the tests, go into your doctors and say, no, I don't agree with that. And find other alternatives. Like, do what you have to do for you. You are your own best advocate. Listen to you.
I used to laugh because I would go into my doctor's appointment, and most people go there to kind of check the box and hear what the doctor has to say. I would go with a list of questions and agenda and research. I'm like, hey, have you seen this research? Because I went back and looked at their medical school curriculum. And then here in Georgia, you only have to do 20 hours of continuing education credits per year. So I was like, hey, I need you to use your 20 hours to read this article and read this article. And like, at one point I was texting my doctor different things that I wanted to make sure he'd read. And I'm thinking, I think I'm probably the only person in the world that does this, but I want to encourage every single person to do exactly that,
Who cares? Like, wow, Julie, you are out there advocating, showing people how to do it. And you didn't let like, oh my gosh, what's he going to say? What are they going to think about me coming in and saying, hey, guess what? I know you have these 20 hours. Like, you called them out. That's amazing. And I'm sure they all were like, wow, Julie, look at her. At first, they were probably like scared of what questions are coming at me, but you didn't care. I love that. Don't care what people thought. When I first opened Swig, people thought we were crazy. Like, how do you make money off of just selling drinks? That's all we had. Drinks and cookies. That was it. Like homemade cookies. I wanted people to have that comfort of the cookie as well. I could have been like, oh yeah, that is kind of a crazy idea. And why would we do that? I felt from the start like this felt like something I was supposed to do. Don't don't listen to the naysayers. Like you just go, okay, no, I feel this. I'm gonna do it. I don't care what they think. I'm just gonna do it. Now people are like, dang, I should have thought of that, And same for you. Like, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah. That was whenever I tell someone, I'm like, hey, do you know that you can measure treatment efficacy? And they look at me and they're like, no, my doctor would have taught me that. And I'm like, well, their compensation model is kind of based on how many chemotherapy sessions they administer. And there's lots of challenges here. So let's be real that they're not going to teach you this because it breaks the entire commercial model of oncology. So let's just go ahead and ask for this test. And people look at me like, you're crazy. And every time I'm like, here's the cancer.gov, like, let me just show you that this is researched and part of the Journal of Clinical Oncology. It's just not standard of care.
And people just don't know that they can ask those questions. Like, so empowering what you're doing. Like, you can ask those questions, dive in, see what research you can find, take those questions to your doctor. You don't have to be the status quo. You go in and try something different.
That's exactly. If I would have done that, the 14% survival statistic would have been real. But instead, I was cancer free in 9 months. And that's what I want to tell people of, like, the statistics are if you do it their way.
Yep. I know. Same thing. 3 calls. Why are you doing this? I'm like, I don't know. Just feel like I should. I had no reason. And I just kept going.
You just knew.
Yeah. You just knew. Listen to your body, advocate for yourself, do the research, don't be afraid to ask the tough questions. And then be the light for others once you have gone through all of that.
I think that
help them to know there's a better way.
That's been probably my favorite part of post-cancer life, is being able to be the lighthouse for others.
It's a gift. So we know life is a gift, right? Like, that's my motto now. Life is a gift, because when you go through something like cancer, you realize how fragile it is. So it's a gift. So make sure so this is my motto. Life is a gift. Make sure that you make it a good one by lifting and helping those along the way. So life is a gift. So treasure it, fight for it, win the battle, and then show others how to do that.
For sure. That's exactly what Mojo Health exists to do, is really collect those survivor stories, because what you did is not the same as what I did, which is not the same as what any other person did. But there's
no guilt.
Yeah. You figure out what works for you. So, okay, Nicole, I've got one final question for you. And that is, what changes have you made in your life after your cancer diagnosis or as part of Swig to make sure you're giving yourself every advantage?
I make sure I listen. So I have gotten really good at talking to God, and then when he speaks, I do it. I listen. So for example, when I am picking the recipients of Save the Cups, it's a long list usually. And this last year we had more applications than we ever had. We had 137 people apply. I can't give to all of them. So it's going through, and it's all me as I go through it. And then I have another person that comes in after I'll go through all of them. One person was nominated 137 times, another one 80 times. I had 800 pages of applicants that I just scoured through. Tears. And again, I had to take breaks and go, this is like hitting close to home. Okay, now back at it, because it's a labor of love. And then I could feel time ticking. I'm like, these women sound like they're in that 4th stage and they're terminal. I'm like, I gotta hurry and get through this. But I have one story of how and I'm so glad, and actually twice now, but it was the first year, actually the second year that we did it, and I'd gone through the list and I had gave them to my marketing team. I said, okay, here you go, this is who I picked. And then he came back and said, oh, we actually have more money than we thought, go back and pick 5 more. So I'm like, okay, yay. So I go back and I pick 5 more, and I realized I'd skipped over this one woman, and I realized I don't know why I did. I didn't see that she was terminal. But in her notes, she'd put, I just don't want to leave my husband with medical debt, because she knew she was dying. I was like, oh, done. She's one. We gotta get to her. So we pick her. I show up at her house with this check for $20,000, and she's on hospice. She is dying. Her arm is 3 times the size because the cancer has spread down into her arm. She sees me. She recognizes me. She about passes out. She grabs me and she hugs me, and I still hear her saying to me in my ear, Nicole, you just don't understand what this has done for me. Thank you so much. You just don't understand. She passed away 2 weeks later. So I lifted her load to where she felt like she could go, and then her husband wouldn't have to deal with all of this medical debt. But I listened and I was like, oh, wow, how did I almost miss that? But I went back, found it. It's happened multiple times in this journey. And so I listen. If I have a prompting to call someone, I do it. Anything that I'm told to do, I don't like getting to my mammogram. I listen. So what I've learned is if I get a prompting just to send a text or just to maybe go this route or whatever, I do it because you never know. You just never know what it's going to do, how it's going to change your life, or who you're going to help. So I've learned to listen and then do.
I love that so much. And the story you shared, I had tears in my eyes because when you can help someone in that moment, in their most vulnerable, weak moment, have peace, it is invaluable. And that's what you gave her, is peace.
Yes. Yes. And we all need some peace, more peace. And I think we can get there when we don't sweat the small stuff and when we focus on what's important and when we listen. The peace is there. We've got so much around us that we need to get rid of the noise and focus on what matters. So, but that's hard to do. Easier said than done when you're fighting for your life. So, for me, it's slowing down. And when I feel like I should do something, do it. Don't be afraid of what they're going to say or whatever. Just do it.
I love that. Yeah. And slowing down, of course, that's been part of my journey as well, because is when you're a strong entrepreneurial hearted woman and who have lots of power and lots of strength and lots of encouragement, lots of coaching, you go, because that's what you do. And people give you more and more and more. And that has been one of the pieces of my journey that I've had to work really hard at, is what is my time that is the most important time I have. And it's right. I have 8 hours of uninterrupted. I might not be sleeping 8 hours, but there are 8 hours where I give myself every single day, because I know that's my time for my brain to relax and my body to come,
Yeah. Yeah. Again, you've realized how fragile life is. So you take those moments for your body. I love to hike. So I have hiked the Grand Canyon since my cancer journey. I ran a marathon. And I love to hike now. I'm older now, so I don't run as much, but I've hiked the Grand Canyon twice, rim to rim. I loved it because it's a journey. So you start at the top, you go down to the bottom, you come back up the top, and then you can look out where you've come from. And because it's hard. It's 26 miles, 24 miles. And it is tough, but it's the journey. It's what you do in life. I have a hill by my house, so there's only 3 miles. I make sure I do it on a weekly basis. It's my therapy hill. It is where I can tune out and listen and show my strength. The beauty of the world. We live in an amazing world that has so much beauty. Again, but it puts everything into focus. So I've learned to take the time for me. Self-care is huge. I get massages. On a month, I sign up for a membership so that I make sure I do it. So self-care, do the things that you've always wanted to do, but just were afraid of. Do it. I never thought I'd run a marathon. I never thought I'd hike the Grand Canyon rim to rim. I was scared of it, but I did it.
I love that.
Yeah, to just do it.
And I think the other thing I just want to acknowledge with you is there are so many CEOs out there that prioritize profit over people. So many. And you have built an organization that is built on not only your customers, not only your employees, but on your community and how you can best serve them. And so I just want to applaud you for making those decisions that people matter. So thank you.
That's amazing that you say that. We don't even call our employees, we call them team members. I don't have a business without my team or my customers. I don't have any of that. I could not have built moved away from store number one without a team. So we go through the finish line together. We are together. I will be in making drinks, taking orders. I do it all the time. My kids are like, Mom, what are you doing? Why don't we just go through the drive-thru? I'm like, never. I'm going in. I'm going to go say hi to the team. Your team is why you have a business. That is the root of it all, is the team. They're the ones on the front lines and doing all the hard work, but it's the care, it's the culture. That's why I have this brand. That's why I'm blessed with it. I will protect that like a mama bear. So, and that's why the franchisees, we pick them very selectively of, do you have that care? Are you going to take care of your customers and your team like I would? You can't take your money with you. And again, cancer just changes your perspective. Money is great. You need money. You got to have money to survive, but you can't take it with you. So your people are what matter. And that's your family, your team, the people around you. That's what matters.
For sure. Well, Nicole, I am so grateful for the time and energy you shared with our listeners. And I just want to encourage everyone out there, if you see a Swig, stop in for some joy and a cup of happiness, because that we know that the dollars you spend at Swig will be returned back to the community and the team you're building to make sure that we are building a better world. And that's exactly where I want to invest my time and money, is in finding the companies that are really determined to do that. So thank you for doing that. And for anyone out there who is fighting breast cancer, remember in October that there is an organization that cares about you personally. And if you are having trouble, make sure you look for the Save the Cups. Nicole, can you share any information on how someone could find that?
Yeah, thank you. So it's Swig Drinks with an S. You can just look up Swig and you'll probably find us. But Swig Drinks with an S is our website. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We have the best marketing team ever. Right now we're doing free Swig for a year competition. So for the month of March, it is free Swig for a year. We give out 100 golden tumblers, and you get free Swig wherever you go. You can refill that tumbler at any Swig at any 65 locations. So the competition is on all of our social media on how to win their free golden tumbler. So that's right now. We're always doing something. For February, we do Share the Love. Every store gets to pick their favorite charity and they raise money for that charity. So we want to be a part of the community. We want to lift. So Save the Cups, you'll find that on our Swig Drinks website. So just search for swigdrinks.com. It's on there. But if you aren't following us on social media, we literally have an amazing social media team. So follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. It's Swig Drinks is what you're going to look for. And you'll find any information you need on there. But October is the fun month. But actually, we'll be posting the video of me delivering all of the checks here in April. And that's Bring Out Your Tissues. That is, I delivered to 10 women. We gave to 33 women, got checks, but I only went to 10 of their homes. The situation is real. Another mom, she's dying any day now, 37 years old. That one got us. It got us good. We were forever changed by visiting her in their bedroom. That was just 3 weeks ago. So watch that video, follow us so you can see that video that comes out here in a couple weeks. And it's why we do what we do. It's why I do what I do. My purpose, oftentimes I'm like, was Swig made for Save the Cups? Because honestly, I think it was. But whatever it is, I'm blessed.
Well, and I'm grateful that you acknowledge that your goal is to serve a higher purpose, just like my goal is to serve a higher purpose. And Save the Cups is a way that you can deliver peace in a moment when people are so vulnerable. So from my heart to yours, thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Yeah, we're sisters, soul sisters now.
That's what I was going to say, forevermore. So to all of our listeners, please support Swig when you see it. You can tell right here, they truly have a leader that believes in the mission, puts their money where they really value, and is there for the community. So please do support Swig. And if you have any questions, please reach out. You can certainly reach out on our website, info@mojohealth.org, and we will make sure we help to answer this. But we hope you learned something. We hope, if nothing else, the next time you find someone who is in a low spot, you do whatever you can to deliver a cup of happiness. So thank you so much for joining, and may everyone who's listening live long and lucky.